Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Kodeations coming at you today with another video on Skylanders Ring of Heroes. And today we're going to be diving real deep into the gear and ether system in the game. So if you have any additional questions when it comes to the gear system after this video, be sure to drop them down below in the comment section and I will do my best to answer those for you. But before we dive in, we have a special announcement, and I mean special, and that is going to be the one, the only Childish Plays. That is right, you know, Childish Plays, the Summoning War fanatic. He has officially sponsored the video with a $25 giveaway. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is drop a comment down below on this video right here, and you have to be subscribed to my channel in order to enter. But that's it. That's all you've got to do. And not only that, please head over to Childish Plays channel, drop him some love and support. I don't care what you do. If you hop onto some of his Summoners War video, his Skylanders video, whatever you see fit, none other than Childish Plays, man. He has been an absolute blast to collaborate with and work with, and thank you very much, my dude, for everything that you are doing to help grow my channel and grow my dream on the YouTube platform. So with all of that being said, we're going to dive right in. Diving right in, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing we need to discuss, and that is going to be where exactly do you get ether gear in the game? Well, currently, right now, as the game states, there is only 2 different places that you can get gear, and the first one is going to be none other than the adventure mode. So, as early as the easy stage on the second island, the Misty Bog, on the stage 1 is where you are first introduced to your first piece of 1-star premium ether gear. So, if you don't already know, ether in this game is like a universal gear system. So what I mean by that is that you are absolutely able to utilize ether gear on any of your Skylanders, and they are not specific to individual classes. Now, we will dive in a little bit deeper onto individual classes and Skylanders and why or what actually changes between each individual, but as of right now, the only thing that you need to know is you collect these random ether pieces, as you can see currently here on your screen, and then once they actually are collected and earned by completing the specific stage in the adventure mode, it will then transition that individual ether piece that you can't see anything on right now into an actual piece of gear that you can then equip to your specific Skylander. So hopefully that made some sense. I was a little bit, wonky on my wording there, but nevertheless, you get the point. And like I said, that's going to be as soon as you are in easy mode and the second island on the first stage. Now, that's going to be a little bit of how exactly you can get the ether from the campaign mode or the adventure mode. I am currently, just to give you guys an example of how low quality the gear is, or gear farming in the adventure mode. So it's definitely not advised to farm your ether gear or the best ether gear out of the adventure mode, because I just don't think it's possible, to be honest with you. We're currently on the normal mode on the 9th island, and we are currently on that 7th boss stage. Again, look at this. There only is 2-star and 1-star gear, and it's still at that premium ether quality. Again, definitely not worth grinding out a specific stage for a specific ether piece in the adventure mode. So you might be asking yourself, well, where do you get the best gear or the end gear or the end game gear? That is going to be actually from the challenge section, and it's going to be the Cyclops Ether Fortress. Now, obviously, your ultimate goal in the long run is to get to be, farming the 6th floor of the Cyclops Fortress. But again, that's going to take a lot of time in order to get there. And not only that, you're going to need a lot of gear upgrades and Skylander upgrades in order to even get to this point. But one keynote to know is that is going to be the 1st and 2nd floor, in my opinion, are not going to be worth grinding out. I think between your Skylanders, you farming in the adventure mode, trying to push through the easy campaign as fast and as quickly as possible, I think is going to benefit you a lot more, because not only are you going to get 1-star pieces, but you're also going to get 2-star pieces of gear, and that 2-star pieces of gear is going to be more than enough to get you to the point to where you can start farming the 3rd floor. The third floor is enemies are going to be at that level 40 mark. So again, it's very, very easy to get to level 40 with your Skylanders just by simply grinding different stages in the adventure mode. So if you don't already know, I do have a beginner's tip video. So if you haven't seen that, I will throw that up here on the pop-up window on one of these corners. Nevertheless, but go and check out that video because I dive into a lot of the beginner mistakes that players are making, and you definitely want to watch that video to make sure you don't make those mistakes. So diving back into this here, like I said, your ultimate goal early game and as fast as possible is to be able to grind out that fourth floor, because that is going to be the first time that you are introduced to 4-star gear and also legendary gear. So the third floor is nice if you absolutely need to. You should be grinding out the third floor to try to get the heroic 3-star gear out of here, because that is going to be what you definitely need in order to be able to auto the fourth floor, because the ultimate goal is to 3-star the fourth floor so you can then turn on the 20 times auto, and then you can just let that baby roll. Grind out as much gear as possible for you, whether it being 4-star heroics, 4-star blues, 4-star legendaries, etc., but ultimately chasing that 4-star legendary. So that's going to be the two places in Skylanders Ring of Heroes that you can get gear, okay? So now let's dive into some individual Skylanders and break down a little bit more information. So the first thing we're going to take a look at, and that is going to be none other than the different rarities or qualities of gear in Skylanders. So the first one is going to be the green. So that's going to be this premium quality gear. Now, this is the lowest quality of gear that you can collect. The next one up is actually going to be the rare quality gear, so aka the blue. Then the next step up from that is going to be the purple, which is going to be the heroic gear. And then last but not least is actually going to be the orange, or the legendary pieces of gear. So that is going to be kind of straightforward when it comes to a lot of gear collecting games. So that's going to be just basically the looks of it. Now, the next thing to also note the difference between each individual quality is, and it also, by the way, a side tip is this does not matter the individual star on these pieces of gear. So for instance, if you've got a 1-star green or you've got a 4-star green, it does not matter. The amount of substats and main stats will be the same. So to give you guys an example of that, we've got a 4-star leg armor here that has 1 main stat, as you can see, and it's got 1 substat, as you can see. If I went over here and I actually clicked on a 3-piece or a 3-star piece of green gear, again, it's still green, it's still premium, but as you can see, we only have 1 main stat and we have 1 substat. So the same thing goes for, as I mentioned before, some of your blue gear. If you click on a 4-star blue, you will have actually 2 substats on every base piece of 4-star gear with 0 upgrades. You will have 2 substats and 1 main stat. The next thing up is going to be that heroic gear. As you can see, this is a 3-star piece. It's already been upgraded. That's probably not a good example. So take this one, for instance. It will have 3 substats at that heroic stage, and it will have 1 main stat. So to give you guys another example of that, do I have another 4-star piece of gear? I don't, because I just upgraded it. But to give you guys an example, we'll actually swap over to blue here. So we're going to go ahead and look at the 3-star piece. You can see that you've got 2 substats and 1 main stat, and then clicking on this 4-star piece of gear, you still only have 2 substats and 1 main stat. So again, just to reiterate really quick, every green piece of gear, no matter the star ranking, will have 1 main stat and 1 substat. Now, the blue pieces will have 1 main stat and 2 substats. The heroic will have 1 main stat and 3 substats. And then last but not least, the legendary pieces of gear always by default will have 1 main stat and 4 substats. Now, the next thing dives into a little bit of more of advanced information, but it is very vital to know, and that is going to be the upgrade and power system of gear. So right off of the bat, you might be looking at a piece of gear and you can see the 3 different options down at the bottom. The first one is going to be power up. We're going to take a look at that in a second. The next one is going to be equipped. Again, pretty straightforward. You equip that to that specific Skylander that you have selected. In this case, we have Eruptor. And then the last but not least option is going to be recycle. The recycling option, if you click the recycle button, is going to give you the total number of ether gems, as you can see right here. We're going to dive into that with the power up section in a second, but you're going to be able to receive those gems from recycling that piece of gear. Once you click the OK button, this piece of gear will then be recycled, and you will no longer be able to access this piece of gear. It'll just be poof, gone out of your inventory. So now, diving in a little bit to the power-up system. So let's say we wanted to power up this specific rare weapon, okay? So this is a 4-star rare weapon. We can see that it currently has crit rate on it, it's got effect accuracy on it, and it's got attack on it. So this stat up here at the very top is going to be the main stat of the weapon, and then the next two stats below are going to be the substats, and then we can see that once we power up this specific piece of gear to level 3, is going to unlock another substat, and then once we power it up to level 6, it will unlock another substat. Now, one thing to note is each piece of gear, no matter the quality and rarity of the piece of gear, you can only have a max of 4 substats on each individual piece. So now to dive in, give you like I said, a more advanced tip, that is going to be if you are leveling up a premium piece of gear, and as I said before, by default, it's going to start off with 1 substat. So let's go take a look at a green piece of gear just to give you guys an example of how this works. You will see it starts off with 1 substat. So right off of the bat, you have to hit a power rank level 9 on this gear in order to unlock all 4 substats before the power up will dump a power up, or basically level up one of the current substats already on the piece of gear. So does that make sense? So you have to unlock all 4 substats on a piece of gear before it will actually upgrade a individual substat. So yes, keep that in mind when you are powering up gear. It's very, very crucial, because if you are looking to get a proc in a specific substat, it has to have all 4 substat slots already unlocked in order for it to do so. So yes, you guessed it. That means on legendary gear, since there are already 4 substats, when you pull a piece of legendary gear, it will automatically, as you power level up the gear at those thresholds, so at that 3, 6, and 9 threshold, it will automatically upgrade one of the current 4 substats. So you could argue that when you pull a piece of legendary gear, you will automatically already be able to tell if it is a good piece of legendary gear, because it will already have the 4 substats and the 1 main stat that is going to be on that gear forever. You can't swap out those stats. Those stats are going to be concrete, and like I said, so you can tell right away if that legendary piece of gear is going to be good or not. Now, that gives you guys a little bit more of advanced information, but nevertheless, you get the point. When you power up a piece of gear, you do have a chance of it not actually powering up and it failing. So if it does happen to fail, Com2uS has done a wonderful job, and they have added a power up to the next level. Now, me personally, I don't really understand, and I don't really care for the failing system when it comes to leveling up gear in these type of games, but nevertheless, it's here, it's prevalent in this game. So if you want my opinion, I would obviously utilize the regular power up button, maybe for the first couple, levels, maybe to like level 3. But once you get to that level 3 mark and you start powering it up past that point, it seems to fail a lot more. Therefore, utilizing this power up button over to the right hand side just seems to work a little bit nicer. So again, very, very cool. And you can also fast travel that by, clicking the additional, power up to level 9. You can click that, boom, bam, bam, boom, boom, boom. It will continue retrying, wasting and utilizing your resources until it power levels it up to that individual stage. So that kind of breaks that down of exactly how to power up gear. Hopefully that clarifies things. Drop a comment down below if you have any additional questions. The next thing to note when it comes to powering up and leveling up gear is the 2 resources that you need in order to do so. That is going to be these ether crystals, is what they call it in the game, and then also the in-game gold. So now, where exactly do you get these ether crystals? Well, coming over here, if we actually click on a piece of gear and you click the recycle button, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, you can actually collect ether pieces from recycling gear. So as a side tip here, let's back out of here, go to the adventure mode. No matter what stage you are farming in the adventure mode, which again, if you haven't checked out my tips and trick video for beginners, you definitely should do so. I will link it down below in the description, and it is also on our channel. But the reason why you want to check that video out is because in there I mentioned a tip about farming, whether that's experience for your heroes or anything, really, you should be only farming the boss stages on an individual island. And the reason why is because the additional resources that you get is absolutely huge. So you have the ability to get some of these evolution potions, these XP potions, and then not only that, you get these Eon Magic Dust for a special shop. You get additional gold, and then currently right now we've got an event going on for special coins. So it's just way better to farm boss stages. But diving into what I was getting at, and that is going to be wherever stage you are grinding at in the adventure mode, you will obviously accumulate a lot of 2-star and 1-star ether gear pieces. And with that being the case, you're pretty much going to hit a point in the game very early on that you're just going to end up recycling in batches 1 and 2-star ether pieces, and especially from anything below heroic quality. So again, so just make sure you are recycling that to gain those ether crystals, because you're going to need those ether crystals in order to power up your gear. And I'm going to tell you right now, firsthand, legendary gear 5-star and above is absolutely insanely expensive when it comes to utilizing those crystals and gold. So you want to definitely be farming up that as much as possible. Now, that leads me into the next point that we're going to take a look at, and that is going to be the individual Skylanders and how their slots change and differ. So to give you guys an example, we were just clicked into Eruptor here. You can see that he has 2 attack weapons, or 2 main weapons. And then you can also see that he has a headpiece of gear. You can see the icon shifting over here. As I click on individual pieces, he's got a shoulder armor, or like a body armor. And then last but not least, he also has a boots category. Well, one thing you might notice here at the very top is we have arms. We also have whatever this is, like a belt of some sort, that he does not have the ability to equip. So again, different Skylanders, different classes will be able to equip different types of gear, but that gear is not specific to an individual Skylander. So to give you guys an example of that, if we head over to Stealth Elf, for example, we can see some additional stuff. She's got the boots. She also has the chest piece. She's got a headpiece. She's got 1 weapon this time, so not 2 like Eruptor has. And then last but not least, she does have another piece of body armor, so she's got 2 pieces of body armor. And then last but not least, she will eventually, once we level her up and get her to this point, be able to unlock the arms section. So one more time, we're going to dive into a different character, and that is going to be Stormblade. So to give you guys an example here, he actually has 1 weapon, he's got 1 headpiece, he's got 1 arm piece by default, and then not only that, once we unlock this ability, after we super boost him, we can actually unlock the belt, and then also unlock another basically piece for boots. So again, a very interesting gear system, but like I said, be cautious of what your specific individual heroes need, but nevertheless, it's a very easy thing to grasp once you get the hang of it, and like I said, each individual can basically hold different pieces of gear. The next thing up that I'm going to throw up on the screen for you guys, and that is going to be a little, chart basically that breaks down the gear and main stats that you can get on each individual piece. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that currently right now. Hopefully it's popped up on screen for you, and I did not forget to add it in. So the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is going to be the weapon. The weapon, as you can see, will always for its main stat have attack plus. The next thing up is going to be the headpiece of gear, and it's always going to be defense plus. The next one up is going to be the base armor piece of gear, and that is always going to have HP as the main stat. The next thing up is going to be gloves, and now gloves gets into a little bit of variation, and you can see that you can get attack, defense, effect accuracy, and effect resistance. The next up is going to be legs, again, defense, HP, effect accuracy, and effect resistance. And then last but not least is going to be the accessories section, and that is going to be crit percentage, crit damage, effect accuracy, and effect resistance. So really quick, we're going to break down exactly what the effect accuracy is and what effect resistance is. So effect accuracy, as I'm sure a lot of players already know from playing other types of games, like letter action RPGs that have status effects, and that is going to be how easy it is for your individual Skylander to land that specific status effect. So AKA poisons, AKA diminish, anything like that, that you are trying to put a status effect onto an individual enemy, that is going to affect that directly, Skylanders, ability to throw that specific damage or effect onto an enemy. The next thing up is going to be the effect resistance, and that is going to be for your individual Skylander, their own resistance to accepting some of those status effects from the enemies. So if an enemy is trying to put a poison on your team, for instance, if your hero or your Skylander has a very, very high effect resistance, it will more than likely evade and miss and not apply that status effect. So again, that just kind of breaks down those two different, statuses. The next thing up, we're going to dive a little bit into, I will pop this up on screen. Again, this is not finished, so take it with what you will, but we are currently working on building this chart. If you have anything to add to this, drop it down below in the comments. I would love to hear from you as well, but this is going to be basically breaking down the individual stats that you can get, or substats that you can get on individual pieces of gear. So as you can see here, we do have a weapon. Currently, we've got a couple different ones for the different weapons, the headpieces, the armor, the gloves, the legs, and the accessories. Again, if you have anything else to add to this, please be sure to drop them down below in the description, the comment section, because I would love to check it out and then also add it onto our chart. And then, like I said, that's going to be pretty much it when it comes to the individual gear system in the game. If I missed anything, again, drop that down below in the comments. Thank you very much, Childish Plays. I cannot thank you enough for offering the collaboration chances an opportunity, but not only that, for sponsoring this video with a $25 giveaway. So we are currently sitting at that 19-minute mark. We need to get out of here. We've taken up too much of your time. Hopefully this clarifies a lot for you guys on gear. And with that being said, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can get notification every time we drop a video, and I will see you guys on the next one.